Hey, what's up guys, it's Renaldo here. So this video is going to focus on how South Africa is willing to give jobs and opportunities away to Cuba, while South Africa's broad definition of unemployment means that close to 45% of people in South Africa don't have jobs. Now what am I talking about? Let's have a look. That's right, South African military revives controversial Cuban technician deal because apparently we don't have any technicians that need jobs in South Africa, right? And before we get into this, very important, you know how obsessed South Africa is with broad-based black economic empowerment, right? Now, if you just go and look here, Cuban ethnicity is complex and diverse, encompassing multiple ancestries. While the majority of Cubans identify as white, there is a significant mixed race and Afro-Cuban population, but the majority consider themselves white. So how does this work for broad-based black economic empowerment? It seems like, hey, if you're white, it's all right. As long as you're not a South African white, then that is completely unacceptable. But anyway, let's get into it. So the previous project, Tusano, cost 3 billion rand over a decade, 4 times more than if handled locally. That is how scared the politicians in South Africa are of white technicians. I mean, they're willing to pay somebody 4 times more from another country just to avoid giving white people jobs in South Africa. It's absurd. Training and maintenance agreements with Cuba were criticized for inefficiency, with Cuban qualifications not meeting South African standards. But hey, don't give Whitey that job. South African Whitey that job. Defense Minister Angie Motshekga, I don't know what she knows about defense. I mean, she spent most of her life in education, but apparently she is now the Minister of Defense, yeah. But anyway, she maintains that Cuba has been indispensable in maintaining key vehicles. Yeah, okay, explain to me. I need to know something. You know, we know the current state of the SANDF vehicles and the tanks and the helicopters, etc., etc. We know that many of them need maintenance. They're not roadworthy. They can't be driven. But apparently, according to Angie Motshekga, it's fine. It's fine. They've done a great job. And the track record that we have is not because of their failure. No. That was somebody else's. It's probably a white South African's fault. Anyway, she continues, or the article continues, the South African National Defence Force, despite past challenges with contracts involving Cuba, is determined to proceed with a new plan to use Cuban technicians for vehicle maintenance. This follows findings by the Auditor General that the SANDF previously recorded irregular contracts with Cuba worth about 1.7 billion rand. A similar prior agreement with Cuban mechanics called Project Tusano will now be revived in a new form as Project Khala. Now, presenting to the Joint Parliamentary Defence Committee, the military revealed that Tusano had cost them 3 billion rand over 10 years. The new cost-saving 5-year contract is estimated to be worth 537 million. However, Tusano also had optimistic financial projections, yet ultimately resulted in significant additional expenses. Neither the first nor the second Tusano contracts complied with Treasury regulations. But hey, third time lucky, right? The Auditor General also found that repairing vehicles through the Cubans cost the SANDF nearly 4 times more than if South Africa's local industry had handled the repairs. Medical student training in Cuba cost 136% more than domestic training, with many students requiring bridging courses locally due to non-compliance with South Africa's qualification standards. Defense Minister Angie Motshekga insisted that Tusano was not a failure. Yeah, arguing that local industries had failed to adequately maintain prime mission vehicles, leaving the military stranded with broken equipment and a loss of expertise. I can tell you why that has happened. That is purely because white South Africans are not allowed to get these contracts. They're not allowed to benefit from a government contract unless they are, I don't know, the highest level of BEE. So ultimately what happened here is, firstly, the government does not want to give white South African technicians contracts because as she stated, she said that, what did she say? Arguing that local industries had failed to adequately maintain prime mission vehicles. Bullshit. Bullshit. If you gave that to any technician rather than just some technicians according to your requirements, then that could have been done. And it could have been done a lot cheaper than the money that you paid the Cubans. But it seems that there's something more going on here. What is that? Well, think about it. If South Africa wanted to give Cuba money, they couldn't just do it by wiring money. Everybody would know about that. So how can you do it? You can say, oh, we're trying to assist Cuba and their technical skills, so we're going to give them a contract to help South African National Defense Force vehicles to maintain them. And then they do such a shit job, but then they get the money. And as stated in the article, sometimes it balloons to like 5 times, 6 times what the initial payment was. Now, the problem is that the government and Treasury has said that they don't meet requirements, but yet here we are doing the same thing over and over and over again. And at the end of the day, it's quite clear to see that this is just a way for the South African government to pump money into Cuba. That's all it is. Whether it's underhanded business deals, whether it is an agreement between the governments that we'll just call it, service, and then you get paid for your service. Something just doesn't smell right here. But the bigger issue here is, why did nobody reject this deal? Because South Africa does not have an official opposition anymore. The DA is now in government. And the DA is the prime political party that would have stood up against this project and would have said, why not give it to South Africans? We have a broad unemployment rate of 45%. We've got a over 60% youth unemployment rate. And here you are wanting to give jobs and money to another country when South Africans are suffering and they are eager to take up jobs like this. What is also astounding is that so many technicians has left South Africa because they can't find work in South Africa. And then when they're overseas, they get a job like that. So who's really at fault here? I mean, it seems that the government is fine with white people as long as they're not South African white people. Because like I said and like I showed you, Cubans predominantly see themselves as white. But yet somehow there's no issue here to give them a contract that was eventually 3 billion rand over 10 years and now 500 odd million rand for a 5-year deal, which we all know is going to balloon out of proportion. And because we don't have any opposition in this country anymore, MK and the EFF is now the official opposition, and we all know they are dick chommies with the Cubans. So of course the opposition is not going to say anything in South Africa. So the obvious question is the DA okay with this deal? Because the DA has not lodged an objection. They've not said anything, which means that this deal is going to pass. And then another 500 million rand is going to create employment in another country, whilst this country is suffering with 45% unemployment. At what point are we going to call out this bullshit and firstly call it racist, because that's what it is, not willing to give South African technicians the job, because I'm assuming that the most amount of technicians that will be able to fix this are white South Africans. So they rather give it to white Cubans because, hey, that's a lot better. And then secondly, the eventual corruption that we know that's going to happen under this deal. I remember during COVID, we had Cuban doctors coming to South Africa, and then we never heard from them until after COVID. And we also paid them millions upon millions of rands. Ultimately, what we need to ask ourselves is, why is this deal happening? Who's going to benefit and why? And why has the opposition not said anything with regards to this? And thirdly, why is the DA quiet on this deal? Is the DA happy as part of the GNU government to pay another country 500 million rand over 5 years, which we know will balloon into 1 billion or 2 billion rand, whilst South Africa has the unemployment rate it has? And clearly this is based on racism, because they would rather give this to white Cubans rather than white South Africans. Yeah, that's where we are in South Africa right now. And that's pretty much all I got to say. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please be sure to smash that like button. Please be sure to subscribe. And if you enjoy my content and you enjoy this channel, please share this video far and wide, and please consider becoming a member. You can do that by clicking the join button below. And that's all I got to say. Till later, cheers and peace out.